Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about the mostly uneventful Traitors Season 4 reunion.
And two standout ladies from Love is Blind, Ohio.
We got a chance to chat with both Emma Betsinger and Jessica Barrett from Love is Blind Season 10. And of course, we also had to discuss the highlights of the Traitors Reunion. So we're just packing it all in to
First,
this
a little
episode.
housekeeping. Of course, make sure not to miss a minute of our Love is Blind coverage. If you missed our latest recap of episodes 10 and 11, just scroll on back in your feed. And of course, our recap about the Traitors finale, all of that in the Love to See It feed. Over on Rich Text, we recently released conversations about the America's Next Top Model documentary, the Tell Me Lies series finale, Wuthering Heights, the movie, and Bridgerton Season 4, Part 2. So you can find those episodes at claireandemma.substack.com.
So let's dive into the Traitors Reunion.
We gotta not a lot to discuss, I'm gonna say. Like, it was amusing, delightful to see all of our faves back together, the outfits impeccable, especially the women. The women
I
and the
loved
queer men really brought it.
Portia's off-the-shoulder sculptural sleeves.
To die for.
Perfection. And then Candiace had the Traitors Core gown with a hood.
Silver. Oh my God. Yeah. Like Johnny and Tara and Maura all wearing like little black and white ensembles. Jam Jam was wearing a fabulous cape.
Oh,
Monet. I mean,
yes.
there were just this. The fashion was on point, and that, to be honest, is part of why I love the Traitors. It's camp, darling.
I couldn't tell if I was just getting distracted and zoning out on the outfits or if I was focusing on the outfits because a lot of what they were saying was not that interesting to me.
Both.
I just watched the finale, which was so gripping and like thrilling down to the wire. And then I was sort of like, I don't know if I need
No, we're good.
this vote from the first quarter of the season to be rehashed.
No. So let's just talk about the highlights. I feel like most of the exciting stuff happened at the beginning.
Yeah. We start with just those five traitors: Rob, Candiace, Lisa, Eric, and Donna, who I forgot about her. Like, having her there felt sort of like you had someone who was sort of selected from the audience to be on stage during the reunion.
I love
Like,
it.
she's just like, I'm so happy to be here. It was really cool to get to be at the castle and wear the cape. And
And then
there's
they
just
have
very
to be like, so does Taylor Swift watch The Traitors? And she's like, yes.
She did not seem like she loved having to talk about Taylor, but she was like, she does watch, and so does her family. So, yeah.
Yeah, poor Donna is
Confirmed.
probably just constantly being asked to give lukewarm gossip about her future daughter-in-law.
Yeah, unfortunately, fair or not, that is the price that you pay to get to walk through the Scottish Highlands in a red cape. So we start with them on stage, and everyone is talking about Rob's big win, and he's doing his sort of like, aw shucks thing. He's like, I think it was just luck. And everyone else is immediately like, no, it's your brilliance. Stop it, Rob. Except for Candiace, who says, well, also some luck. A little bit of both.
I
A
think
little
for,
luck, a
for
little.
any winner on this game, it is a combo of both.
I don't see how you can get around the fact that luck is involved in winning this game, especially when you look at someone who gets murdered night one,
Right.
you know? Or like you have the luck to be chosen as a traitor. There's always luck involved
But
in winning the
he
game.
also did play a very, very good game. Rob is asked what he's going to do with his winnings, and he says he's like putting the money away for his future and also maybe to buy Maura a Birkin. I guess he promised Maura a present, and she said, I will accept nothing less than a Birkin. And frankly, that feels fair to me. Just buy the lady a nice gift.
That seems fair. I did get the sense that he did not understand how much a Birkin cost until this conversation.
Lisa Rinna has to clarify that that's minimum $10K.
Eric defends himself for not distrusting Rob after what he did to the housewives. And basically, he's just like, I don't know, Rob said it was crazy up there, like in the turret. So I thought they had just been so mean to him. And I guess he thought, well, I'm not going to be mean to Rob, so he won't turn on me like he turned on the mean housewife
Oh,
traitors.
Eric, you fool.
And Rob is like, yeah, I had to like say something, which, yeah,
Yeah.
he did. And like, you guys have to simply use an ounce of critical thinking sometimes. Rob does defend himself for kind of throwing the housewives under the bus so quickly. And I thought he made a pretty fair point, which is they are housewives. They have a certain affinity, a sort of understood alliance. And three traitors are not going to make it to the end together. So at
Nope.
some point, they would turn on him and they would have the numbers, especially once he began to see that it would be advantageous in the long run to vote for Lisa. He knew Candiace was going to gun for him. And Candiace and Lisa are like, that's projection. You're the one who turned on us. We would never have turned on you. And that may be true, but it also is true that once they turned on him, it would probably be too late.
Yeah. And we all know, like, traitors turn on each other at a certain point. It's the name of the
Yeah.
game.
He made the decision that he needed to do it before they had a chance, whether they would have done it or not. And if they really weren't going to, they probably weren't going to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, them's the breaks. Something else that I've seen people get very upset about is that Candiace tries to like seed this theory that Rob was like feeding information to Colton. My reaction was just like, yeah, probably not. Doesn't seems pretty far-fetched. I don't think that was happening. I think they were just in an alliance. And that is like from what we hear from Colton later on, it seems like that is the case.
Yeah, this was annoying because they teased it up at the front of the reunion here, and then she doesn't say what that piece of information is. And I was like, wait, why are we moving along? We do get back to it when Colton's on stage. And basically, what Colton ends up saying, or what Candiace tries to get Colton to confirm, is that Colton told her that Rob told him during the game that Candiace was a traitor.
And so it seems like she's taking this as him saying with total certainty, Candiace is a traitor. And I guess the implication is that he would have had to share that he was a traitor to Colton. Colton disputes this, obviously, not surprising. He's like, I thought I was working with the faithful, and Rob did cede your name to me. But like that is part of the game.
Right. It sounded to me like Colton confirmed to her that Rob ceded her name to him.
Exactly.
And she was like, well, he can't do that because that's cheating. Like you can't tell him that I'm a traitor, but he can as long as Colton doesn't know for sure that Rob is a traitor. They're
Exactly.
allowed to bandy each other's names about if they think that that's what works for their gameplay. So it's kind of unclear what made her believe that he did something that was out of bounds as opposed to just like against what she understood to be their agreement that they would not turn on each other.
Yeah, I agree. And I also was just like, this seems kind of irrelevant. So I just sort of mentally moved on. And then I didn't realize that people were like very angry about it on the internet.
I think there's very few takeaways from the reunion other than this, which is that like Candiace is suggesting that Rob sort of cheated.
And I don't think he did. And I also don't think anyone else really buys that.
And it was a risk that Rob certainly did not need to assume when he could simply keep having Colton trust everything he says without revealing that he's a traitor.
I think a more valid point that Candiace makes is that she's like, Rob, you weren't planning to go to the end like with me if I didn't gun for you. Your plan was about you reaching the end by yourself. Just like own that.
And he doesn't want to, like, he keeps saying, like, maybe I would have, maybe I would have. I think that she's right, but also, like, I think this was her Achilles heel in the game, that she expected them to
100%.
stick by promises to be loyal to each other, that she thought they should be upfront about things like this that are essentially strategy. He would be giving away a huge strategic advantage by being upfront with her about that. If you're going to start having these sort of ethical lines for what's okay to do within the normal boundaries of the game, you're simply shooting yourself in the foot. There's no way that you can win if you have the mindset that, like, I need to play in this sort of honorable way and I need to,
Which they
adhere to
all
a certain
do.
code.
They all try to,
Right.
like, pretend that there is some sort of set morality within the game when the truth is, no, there are, like, basic rules to the game and everything else is fair play, and
Yeah. She also says that she knew once he lied to them about helping to save Lisa, she had to save herself. This is when they were all at breakfast together and they asked him to help save Lisa, like distract attention from her when she was under fire. And he sort of nodded along and said, okay. And then he went around leading the charge, whipping votes against her. And she says when she saw that, she knew she had to save herself. And he smirks and says, but you didn't save yourself.
she didn't.
Rude and also true. I think that's another thing that's been kind of frustrating about her press rounds after is that do you understand that you didn't save yourself? Or like, do you understand that you didn't take Rob down? Like he won and you got
I
banished.
personally don't mind having traitors, like, get in each other's faces a little bit during the reunion and, like, push on each other's strategy. I think that's fun. I think that's fair game, but, like, girl,
Yeah.
if you want Rob to own certain things, you also have to own certain things. And like you made some real missteps that like
Yeah.
fucked up your game.
Yeah. In her defense, she says she did try to pivot to self-preservation, which was not successful, but also putting suspicion on him, and that should have been successful if anyone was paying attention, which they were not. He does tell her that if she had gotten on the Lisa bandwagon, he would have gone to the end with her, and she says this is poppycock. She says you
Great
wanted
word.
to from the minute you were tapped on the shoulder, you thought this was your game. So put your big girl panties on and own that. I mean, we saw how he flipped on literally everyone to be standing alone at the end. So I think that it's fair to say that that was how he was approaching the game, and it was the smartest way to approach the game. Like, why share the money with a rich housewife when you can use it to buy a farm for your nice, quiet girlfriend who never watches TV?
Exactly.
That's the move.
So Mora joins them on stage after, and everyone's like, my queen. And she just says, queen or dumb.
Ugh. I've gotten in plenty of licks on Mora through the finale, and I'm feeling a little bit bad because she is so embarrassed.
Yes, she is. And also she has like she has a great attitude about all of it. Like
Yeah.
I do like applaud her for just coming out and being like, yeah, I feel pretty dumb watching that back. I kind of did deserve that. Rob, good game. Me, missed a lot of signals. I have some regrets. And also like that's how it goes.
Yeah, I always, like, really admire when someone comes out with a really good attitude after
Same.
getting the shit kicked out of them in this game. So, Maura mostly is there to be like, "I ignored what everyone told me, I didn't think about it, and I feel stupid." But she does say that she trusted Rob quickly because they're both from the Love Island world. And, like, this is kinda how the show works. People come in with these pre-made alliances that are based on this paper-thin bit of trust that they have from being on the same TV franchise or in the same, like, Olympic sport. I mean, with Tara and Johnny, they're actually close friends, but, like, if you don't have an actual close friend from one of these franchises, at least you have a contract with the same production company. Like, it sounds so comical, but that is what most of them have to start with.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, just remember that that's not very much information to go on. So I wouldn't rest your whole strategy on that.
Andy also brings up the chemistry that everyone felt between Mora and Rob. And Mora's like, we were just friends. We didn't even have a flirt. And Rob is like,
It was on camera.
we,
So
we
I
were
know you
just
did.
friends, but we did have a flirt.
Yeah, I have eyes and ears. I know that you were having a flirt. I sort of wondered if Maura was trying to be a good buddy here because she seems to already know Rob's news that he drops casually here, which is that while Maura is still single, Rob is not. He has a girlfriend of 2 months. I think she's, like, being a good friend by kind of downplaying the chemistry that everyone was remarking on here and being like, "We were totally just friends. Like, I'm non-threatening. It's fine."
I feel like her point was more like, I wasn't really trying to hook up with him.
I think, yeah, that too. But she says if he gets her a Birkin, she'll forgive him and they can go from there. Rob's girlfriend had been, like, reported on
Yeah,
by, like,
I had
Dumois and
missed
stuff.
this, but no, he just
He had been
confirmed it.
he'd been spotted with, like, a mystery brunette,
Yes, and then
and
I did
yeah.
look into it, and she is apparently an esthetician from Kansas who is like 21 or 22 years old. That's just what I saw on TikTok. So it's
We're
100%
just
true.
we're just here to relay what we see on TikTok, folks. Imagine getting Rob to confirm that he is dating you at the peak of his sex symboldom.
Yeah.
Like,
Good for you, girl.
I can't even begin to imagine what that must feel like. Tara and Johnny beam in from Milan to speak to their role at the end of the season. Tara basically says that figuring it out right at the end when it was too late was just like being an athlete who trains for years so they can shine for 4 minutes. She needed to shine like for a little bit longer in the context of this game, unfortunately. It was like a little too late to be hitting her peak. Maura says that it killed her watching it back that she didn't believe Tara. Tara still seems pretty annoyed about it too. And she's like, yeah, I should have gone into an alliance with Tara and Johnny. I'm so dumb. Rob called me gullible and he's so right. And Rob is like, no, not gullible.
Babe, we all watched the show. It's okay.
There's something, Rob feels like very embarrassed to be sitting here with all the people who like, his
it is
best friend in the game he
uncomfortable.
called gullible and like that he was using her. Like he definitely feels uncomfortable and he doesn't know how to handle it. So he just will say like, "No, I didn't mean that. It's fine." And the most like don't believe him. Like I do think he thinks Maura is super gullible, but it's just very awkward.
Yeah, I feel like what he's trying to convey is like, no, but I still really like you and value
Right.
you.
Yeah.
You are gullible. It doesn't mean it's okay.
You still have worth. When Colton comes out with some of the other traitor hunters, Mark, Kristen, Jam Jam, Natalie, and Dorinda come out with him, a lot of the conversation ends up being around Colton.
Yeah, I mean, I did see that he finally somewhat addressed his history of alleged stalking in an interview with, I believe, Vanity Fair. He had been basically refusing to speak about it in his press rounds, and it seems like maybe someone on his team finally realized that like really was not helping.
It's complicated because I do believe that Cassie probably does not want it talked about
They
constantly.
also did absolutely sign some sort of legal agreement, and like we don't know the details of that, and we also don't know like which side was pushing for what in that legal agreement. But it definitely has been tough, I think, for him to be continuing to get these like public platforms and like be unwilling to grapple out loud with that really upsetting history. Very upsetting, fairly recent history.
Yeah.
So this is lightly touched on during the reunion. It comes up because Colton and Lisa kind of get into it a little bit over his use of the word hostage. I guess he said he wanted to like take her hostage as a traitor. And Lisa is like, I don't know if you should have used the word hostage.
Yeah. And he says, well, first of all, I was saying that instead of doing what you normally do with a traitor, which is trying to get them banished, I was trying to keep her in the game to flip on another traitor. And that's just what I meant by that. And you said, Lisa, that you wanted to slit my throat. So it's not fair for you to look at me a certain way for saying that word. Clearly, Lisa is intimating that this word might have been unwise in the context of his alleged stalking. I felt very weird about this whole conversation.
It was very uncomfortable. It was, yeah.
Like
and it's also just the wrong venue for this conversation, to be honest.
Yeah, like I feel like Lisa's pulling a bit of like a housewives move here of like, I've got some personal dirty laundry and I'm going to leverage it in this moment. But it felt a little bit glib given that
Yeah.
there's like a real person who is very hurt by what happened, who does not, from what we know, really want it to be talked about this way. And so to use it to like kind of score a point in this way made me quite uncomfortable. And then whenever Colton talks about it, he just ends up talking, as he does after this, about how he had a really difficult couple of years and it was so hard for him and he's grown and changed since then. And it's not really right that people are bringing up one of the most horrible moments of his life
Yeah,
just because he's on the Traitors. And it ends up all being about how it was a hard time for him.
I was very struck by that language and how much
Yeah.
it centered him. He says he understands why people might be talking about it, but it's been difficult because he wasn't in a great place during this time.
I'm sure he's not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate even like talking about it too much because like it's out there. Like we all know it happened. I
I
don't want
know.
to keep like triggering anything or like reopening something that she may not want to have constantly talked over in the public sphere. But this is why I think we always, when he's cast on a show like this, we're just like, please stop casting him.
Exactly.
It's very hard to either have it ignored or to be relitigating it. And it seems like either one feels harmful to a lot of people.
So then this
But
like moves right along from this more serious thorny conversation back to like the camp of making this show.
Mhm.
Lisa talks about how she doesn't regret wearing the amulet, even though there was so much heat on her, because it was theater, honey.
She volunteered very fast to wear the amulet.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I knew I would be at risk, but I also knew I was going to be the center of attention. And I really just wanted to make it to episode 7 so I could wear that outfit.
Yeah, all the housewives were like, yeah, we just did not want those banquet outfits to go to waste.
Yes, we have learned since our original recap that like they do select their own outfits and have to bring them, which is
Yeah.
just so incredible.
Yeah, so some of them were packing entire crowns, the things that they had in their suitcases. I could not have believed. Lisa's collar on her gown alone needed its own suitcase. And she saw that amulet and she was like, there's a spot on my gigantic collar
Yeah,
for
and
that
she's
amulet.
like, if I go out this way, it's gonna be glorious. It's fine.
Yeah, so like mostly a lot of this reunion ends up being different faithfuls talking about why they did not ever consider Rob. And Mark
All their
says,
regrets.
yeah, they're just like, I sort of wish I had clocked that sooner. Mark says that's his biggest regret in the game is not taking Candiace's votes for Rob more seriously. What he says is that Rob is like a cat and just like has this innate sense of always how to land on his feet. And that feels right to me. Like, and that's part of what makes it hard, I think, for me to talk about Rob or to like consider him is that like, I don't know how to untangle what part of it is like white male handsome privilege that everyone is so eager to defer to him and respect him and trust him, and what part of it is just like this kind of confusing charisma and savvy that he has.
I think it's just a mix. Like
Yeah.
it's just a mix, which is why we can both analyze the dynamics that are at play in a game like Traitors and at the same time say this man played a great game and he deserved to win. Like all of those things can be true at the same time. And I think that having those two conversations at the same time is worthwhile. And I've been frankly a little frustrated to see people demand one or the other.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a simple conversation. I don't think that it's as simple as Rob is the greatest genius to have ever puppeteered a game as a traitor. And I don't think it's as simple as Rob just like slid ass backwards into a win by virtue of being a tall, hot white man. Like
Exactly. It's neither. Like
and like there are plenty of tall, hot white men who do not do well in the game. So like obviously there's a huge amount of savvy that went into his win. And the way that Mark kind of gestures to like there's just a quality that he has where like somehow he just finds a way where you just like even though you have so many reasons maybe to feel suspicious of him,
You just don't.
you just don't.
Natalie does say that, like, in a sense, the faithfuls just weren't savvy enough. She's like, Candiace gave us these 2 shots. She voted for
Yeah.
Rob twice. And we just couldn't put the pieces together for whatever reason. And like, that's just, it is what it is. We do get a moment where Johnny also apologizes to Natalie for how things went down. And in general, like, the temperature of the reunion is quite tepid. You know, people kind of get into it briefly and then they seem to move on and seem to be good. I'd say the most intensity we get is, shocker, from Michael Rappaport,
That just came out of nowhere.
who
I
just
was like,
starts being a
what?
wild dick for, like, unforced,
That's just
as
his
he does.
personality. So, yeah, when the rest of the faithfuls come out, they start rehashing some of the earlier in the game votes and drama, which is kind of like, it just feels so far in the past now, which is a little like, okay, let's move on. Let's get some excitement in here. But then suddenly Michael is the focus of the conversation, and he's
No one
bringing
is
the drama.
excited except
But
Michael.
suddenly, yeah, I was like, go back to being boring because this is unpleasant.
Yeah, Michael kind of gets the floor to apologize for his comments about Colton. And he starts off pretty strong. He's like, I apologized and I reached out to him and I apologized in the moment. And then he can't help himself. He can't just stop the sentence and be like, I apologized and I am sorry. He has to be like, and it's Johnny Weir's fault, really.
The Olympic silver medalist. Does he think he's insulting him, that like the worst you could do in the Olympics is a silver medal? Spoiler alert, you can do a lot worse. You cannot medal at all. In fact, that's Johnny Weir's
Yeah,
position.
Johnny's like, actually, I didn't win any Olympic medals, but
yeah, I'm
thank you.
contractually obliged to clarify that I have never won an Olympic medal. I can't mislead the public. But when he tries to do this, Michael keeps cutting him off to say, when I'm speaking, you're not speaking. Clip. This is to Portia, too. He and
Yeah.
Portia get into it over his vote for Portia
And
earlier
every
in the
time
season.
he does this, the rest of the cast just like audibly groans in disgust. Everyone's like, oh, Michael, no, can you not?
And finally, he says, I'm quoting the great Hilaria Baldwin. I don't know. I didn't watch the Baldwins. I don't know if she said, when I'm speaking, you're not speaking, clip, but it doesn't change anything for me. I want you to stop saying that.
Oh, at a certain point, Maura has to yell, Michael, everyone's bored. And then Andy has to step in and say, we are moving on.
Right. Like every conversation that he's involved in just devolves into him yelling at people to shut up. Like, does he think this is entertainment?
Also, shocker, it's pretty much exclusively like queer people and people of color. Like, cool stuff. Luckily Andy does step in and be like, we have to move on. No, thank you. Please stop speaking.
So, yeah, Colton basically says that he got the FaceTime call from Michael to apologize. He wasn't going to bring it up unless Michael did. But he's like, I just felt that anything that wasn't game related was off limits. And that's why I was, bothered by those comments. Monet tells Ron that it seemed like he wasn't interested in having a social connection with a lot of them, which was interesting because when it came up earlier in the season, Dorinda was the one who voiced it, but then it seemed like he had a specific problem with Dorinda. But it does seem like she was not the only person who sensed this from him.
Yeah, I found this to be interesting too. And Ron doesn't get a lot of airtime, and neither does Monet. In this reunion. So I was like, oh, I actually would have been interested to hear more of this conversation, but we kind of just get this one exchange where Monet says this and Ron says that he just felt isolated and kind of out of place in the group. He's like, you all talk about Birkin bags way more than I do.
Come hang out with me, Ron. I never talk about Birkins. I'm not entirely sure I know what they look like, to be honest, to this day. And I've watched that Sex and the City episode so many times. Monet also mentions she made it longer on the show than Bob, but in the future, they should maybe do Traitors All-Stars and put them on together.
Yes. And everyone claps.
They're fierce competitors. Give them a fighting chance.
I would
to really
love to
do
see
it.
Bob the Drag Queen and Monet exchange together. That would be incredible. And also in general, I do think we need 2 people from Drag Race on,
right?
So that they can have.
We
an
see what a
alliance.
superpower it was for Rob to have just one person from Love Island there. And Tiffany says that she considers the Drag Race competitors to be gamers and like that their game is really tough, actually. And this is also why I think, as we've said, dating show people often do well too, because dating shows are also games and the people who are on them are also gamers. And as compared to some of the other non-gamer celebrities who go on the show, they have experience with that kind of social strategy that should be respected.
Absolutely. So we end with a round of applause for Rob's win. Everyone praises his gameplay. Stephen Coletti is like, the faithful didn't deserve shit. and and Rob says that he's very proud of himself and he's making progress on the whole farm and kids thing, I guess with his girlfriend in Kansas City.
It
And they
seems that
close it
way.
all out with a housewives led conga line. Good vibes all around. What a season of the Traitors.
What a ride. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to have our first interview with a Love is Blind Ohio lady. First, we'll be talking to Emma Betsinger. So that's in a moment. And we're back. So now we're going to get into our Love is Blind interviews. We had the opportunity to speak with Emma Betsinger and Jessica Barrett, two of our favorite ladies from this Ohio season. And we only had 20 minutes with each of them because of the upcoming finale and reunion. There were some topics we weren't able to get into, but we had such a wonderful time chatting with both of them. And we hope that you enjoy these conversations as well. First, our conversation with Emma. So, Emma, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to be speaking with you
Oh my
today.
gosh, thank you guys so much for having me. I love your guys' podcast, so I was really excited to be
Oh,
here.
Oh, thank you.
well, we've loved watching you on this season, and we don't have a ton of time with you, so we just want to get right into it. Some of the like big burning questions that we've had. You've been super open during this show about your experience of being adopted, your experience dealing with multiple surgeries to address these precancerous birthmarks on your body at a young age. And we saw you open up about this to three men that you had significant connections with in the pods about this. That ended up being a big part of what the audience saw from you
Mhm.
during that first drop. Did you feel like the edit fairly portrayed the nature of those
Mhm.
three relationships? Or like was that as big of a part of those connections as it kind of seemed to the viewer?
Yeah, so once I first saw it, I was overall just seeing myself on the screen and like digesting the storyline, the edits. I thought like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. They're seeing like my goofy side. They're seeing me telling the story," and it really is how it played out, but then the more I stepped back, I was like, "Ooh, like, this is a very, very big focus of, like, my relationship with these 3 men and just this depiction of me," but what they don't show is that was actually, like, one day, so I spent the day telling my story to these 3 men, and I was very emotionally charged, I was very nervous to do this, so you're really getting only a snippet of just like my whole journey within the pods. So I'm glad that they told my story, but it felt like it was like the only focused thing about myself. And I wish they showed more of our dates, more of us talking about not only children, but just our family and how I grew up and like what we like to do. So I don't think that it was like truly an accurate portrayal. Like, yes, it was my story, but I feel like that there's just so much more that should have been shown and could have been shown to like give the viewers this like whole portrayal of like who I am. Because my surgeries and my adoption, even though it is so important to myself and just like how growing up was, I definitely think that that was just like 1% of like who I am as a person.
Of course, you're a full person. We as the audience on of a reality show are only going to see a portion of that. I'm actually curious with Mike specifically, what was it about that relationship that really drew you guys close? Because we kind of see these conversations about your adoption and your surgeries, and then we see conversations about having children. I assume there were other things that drew you together. Like, what worked about that
Yeah,
relationship?
so he was the calm within the storm for me. I would go in and talk to him. We talk about everything and anything under the sun. Our humor is so similar that what drew me in first was just that we could banter back and forth, have the jokes. We had similar interests and just similar like comedic timing, and everything felt so natural with him. So, yes, kids was a big focus that we talked a lot about, but he just made me feel so stable and seen. And we had very long days. So when I was able to be in the pods with him, I could be like, I am so confused right now, or like, I don't know what's going on. And he'd be able to like talk me down and be like, okay, let's talk through this. Like, why are you feeling this way? Like, how can I help? So just being in this like chaotic once in a lifetime experience and to have someone be like, okay, what can I do? Like, how can I be strong for like both of us? Like, that was so telling, and it just helped like discern like him from Connor, which was a very fun relationship, but like to be able to have that stabilizing figure, to be able to talk about anything. I knew like going out of the pods, like if something happened, we could like get through it together. So that really like is what drew me in first and foremost.
What ultimately made you move forward with Mike, even though it seemed like to the viewer there was this potentially huge incompatibility around having
I
kids?
would say that the biggest incompatibility between us was kids. Like we were aligned with everything else. We were aligned with what we like to do, what we wanted for our future. We were very career driven, goal oriented people. And we talked a lot about self growth. Like he was on his own self growth journey, which they did not show a lot of. They really only showed him talking about kids. And I was also on my own self growth journey. So we talked a lot about our past, like what we like are looking for in partners, like what we've learned about in previous partners that we want to bring into our own, and just how to be stronger, better people. And I think that was like the biggest thing that really drew me to him. And then number two is just like the openness of him having like wanting to talk about kids. Kids definitely was the big topic of conversation, but him letting me figure out on my own time and being open and accepting, like it definitely looking and watching it back was very like forward, but it really was like a very let's talk about it, let's have these conversations. I'm not trying to pressure you type thing. So I wanted to be open and I wanted to continue just learning more about him and what life would be like with like outside of the pods and in real life meeting our families. So that's what really drew me to him, was just like the openness of like what the future could look like.
I mean, I personally loved watching you share really honestly about your ambivalence about becoming a parent. I think it's so relatable. I think it's something that so many women struggle to talk about, but absolutely feel. And it did feel like when you guys left the pods that you both were open to continuing that conversation. After you got out, it felt like Mike's timeline shifted a little bit when he found out that his best friend was having a baby. Did you get that sense on your end?
Yeah, I think once we got into the real world and we started talking to friends and to family, it definitely was more of like, so like continuing to like preface of like, he wasn't pressuring, but like the conversation, there was a little more like fire like in the flame, like let's be open, let's talk about it, to I really want kids, like I want them in like 2 to 5 years, versus like I want to be like open, I want them to have them with you. I think getting into the real world, it became more like of a tangible topic of conversation versus like let's stay open and figure it out, versus like everyone's having kids, everyone's getting married. Like I now feel like I'm on this timeline too.
Yeah. Something that we have noticed as Love is Blind obsessives is that it feels like the audience has been overall more critical of your choice to move forward with someone who knew he wanted kids, even though you were unsure, than they have been of Mike's choice to move forward with someone who is unsure she wants kids. Is this something that you have felt, or do you feel like there's a double standard in how people are responding to you
I definitely
guys?
feel like it is a double standard. I feel like I am getting comments about like it's either they're pro not children or it's pro like wanting children. And because I'm on the fence, they're kind of like, they're pulling me to one side or the other. And for me, like I'm unsure. Like I love my niece and my nephew. I love my family. Like it could potentially be a great next step. And to have someone, to have a partner that feels so stable and secure, like I am open to it. But I feel like there's so much um like response over like being on the fence. I feel like women, as women, you have a choice, and you have a choice not to have kids. You have a choice if you want kids, but you also have a choice if you're unsure. And that choice can change under the right circumstances as well. So I definitely feel like it is like a two-way thing. And also, like, he made the choice to continue with me when I was unsure about having kids as well. So
Right.
we both were intelligent, like, people that knew what we were getting into when we got engaged, when we continued throughout the process together. So it's definitely very interesting reading the comments and hearing the feedback, because I feel like people want the black and white. They want the yes or the no, but, like, there's so many people
Mhm.
that aren't sure, or, um, like, they don't know what the future holds. So I think it's so important that it's, like, being able to represent that too, of just like, this is a choice between me and my partner. Like, I have the freedom to change my mind, and so do women around the world too. Like, it doesn't need to be a concrete thing to be born in, to be a mother, to not be a mother.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't have to have some inherent like gut reaction, and that your feelings about such a big life decision don't have to stay static.
Yeah.
I mean, something that was so striking to us is like we're about 10 years older than you. We live in the New York City area. I'm like everyone in my world is having their first kid in their late 30s, and had a lot of time to spend really thinking about that choice. And also I have a lot of friends who have chosen not to have children. And so I think I just personally was like, "Oh my god, give her
Yeah.
some space and
Yeah.
time." Like
Yeah. We know a lot of women who took a long time to decide whether they wanted kids, and so that seems very normal to us. So it's very interesting that people are specifically bothered by the fact that you're on the fence, like they really wanna sort you into a
Mhm.
category. That's very interesting. There's also been a really strong audience reaction to the meeting that you had with your family, especially specifically your sister Hannah's comments about choosing not to have children if she were to get the chance to live a second life after this life. Were you surprised by the response people had? I was very surprised, but I'm curious for your reaction.
Yes, I was very, very surprised. And I think it goes back to like this like pocket. Like, if you are a mother, you have to be a mother, and you're not allowed to feel these feelings. But like, I am so proud of my sister, and like, you saw me, I'm speaking my truth, she's speaking hers. And I think that just is a testament to like my parents building really strong women who do have opinions, and who like my sister loves her kids. Her kids are her whole world. But she loves me too. And she knows that, like, because I'm on the fence, like, she wanted to tell me like how hard, like, motherhood is not easy. And I think I 100% like support and stand behind like what she said, and like she would never like take back her kids. But like, yes, like, motherhood is hard, and some days like you always wonder the what if. But I was so surprised to see the backlash and criticism for her like speaking her truth. And um she like also 100% stands by what she says too, and she's very proud of herself. But it's very hard hearing the criticism, and then also having um viewers like pit me and her against each other, of like mother versus non-mother. And it's just being able to speak your mind and be fluid. Like, everyone has opinions, everyone has choices, and it's not, again, it's not this black and white like structure, infrastructure that we're like all have to be in.
yeah, I think it was clear to us watching that she both loves her children and sees the value in, as she said, living a life for yourself. And I thought it was actually incredibly powerful to hear that articulated by someone who did make the choice to become a mother.
Yeah, for sure. And she like wanted to be a mother. She loves to be a mother, but like also with mothers, it's like you are not just a mother. Like, you have your own personality.
Right,
Like, you have your
right.
friends. Like, you can be a mother and independent. Like, you can be everything that you want to be. You can be a mother and a career woman. Like, you can be a woman and do it all. And she is. She is a mother. She is a career woman. Like, yeah, it was I very powerful just to like talk with her and reflect and just see that on the screen, and just um like standing by her. And she's also been getting messages from moms about like thank you so much for saying this. Like, some people think it, and some people don't know how to say it, or they don't want to say it because they think it's makes them bad mothers. But she's not a bad mother, and she just you can have all these feelings, and it's a day to day thing.
I'm glad to hear that she's at least hearing that because as a mom, as a working mom of 2 also, like, it's very hard, and I've never regretted having my kids, but boy, it does sound nice to have another life where I would get to sleep in until 11 and, like, take tennis lessons or something, you know? It's appealing as well. So when you heard her say that in the moment, your takeaway was really not she's saying she wishes she could not have her kids. She's saying, really think, Emma, about what it would actually mean to give up because what you have in your life now is also so
Yes,
great.
1,000,000%. Like, I have been so independent. I take care of myself. All my previous exes, like, didn't want kids, so I didn't have to think about that. And
Mm.
so I think for me, like, it is going to be a change. Like, if I do become a mother in the future, like, it is a different responsibility, and you're giving life to not only yourself, but someone else. And she really said that to be like, Emma, think about it. Like, truly think about like what you have right now and like how that can change because like I see my sister, like she works hard, but it is children are a lot of work too. So yeah, I think it was definitely just like hashing it that's like stop and think really seriously. And I think my family is amazing and they grounded like they were my grounders. Like I am here, I am making my own decisions, but like to come back engaged and wanting to start a family or having those open conversations, like it is so important to see like both sides and especially like seeing what Mike's family and like what my family like those conversations like it definitely like took a lot like into my consideration set as well just to be like okay now that I'm in the real world like what are my intentions and motivations like going into the future.
We were curious, did you and Mike ever have substantive conversations about how he sees fatherhood or how he sees the role of becoming a parent and like supporting his female partner through a pregnancy and postpartum and the day-to-day labor of parenting?
Yes, yeah, we had those conversations because that's the biggest thing for me is like I don't want to like have kids and you're just getting to do all the things and still be like I want to be a businesswoman, you're a businessman, like I want like where does that intersect? Because in the pods we talked about how we were both very motivated for careers. We wanted to travel, but I'm like I don't wanna be a stay-at-home mom, like, I need the help and I need the support, and we did have the conversations of, like, it's going to be, like, push and pull back and forth, like, there might be days where, like, he's going to be busy, so I have to step up, or I'm gonna be busy, and then he steps up, so we did talk about, like, the role of fatherhood, and the roles and responsibilities, and that also played a factor of do I or do I not move forward with Mike too? Because I don't wanna be the person that's like, "Okay, I'm a mom and now you're going out and having fun," and, like, I just, like, I am just the mother, like, I think it's so important to have those conversations, so we did. But most of that stuff was, like, behind the scenes, like, when we weren't filming, we definitely, like, dove deep into that too.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I wish they had shown more of that, and I know there are a lot of plot lines, and it's hard to cram everything in, and the storylines get really cut down, but sometimes the most interesting parts of the conversations we never end up seeing because I think that would be really good for the audience to see. I think we're almost out of time, but before you go, I wanted to ask, like, if there's anything else, like, specifically about this season that you wish had, like, come through more in your storyline?
I think the biggest thing is just, like, the growth and me learning in real time what, like, made me tick, but also, like, what, like, calmed my nervous system. I feel like when you're watching myself in the pods, I feel like I'm crying or, like, dumping all of my trauma and emotions, and yes, that was, like, one day, but there's just so many more days, and I was doing the work before, like, I was talking to my parents about my adoption, my surgeries, like, throughout this whole life, like, I was confident, I was brave going in there, and, like, I intentionally wanted to tell my story and, like, share that to be 100% seen, but I feel like some feedback and commentary is like, "You need help, you need therapy, like, you are not healed," and it's like, yes, that might be, like, seen in, like, what viewers see, but, like, no, I knew what I was doing. Like, it was emotional to talk about, but, like, I am accepting myself. I fully accept, like, I am here, and I wanted to, like, share that with my partner, and it just so happened to be televised and talk about 3
Yeah.
times and many minutes of it. But yeah, no, I think it's just, like, I want people to know that, like, I am not just my story and I am so much more, and they really only got to see just a little bit of that.
Yeah. Do you think maybe there was also a little bit of a different standard that you were held to by some of the viewership in terms of, like, when you show emotion, you're seen as unhealed and you're not ready for a relationship? Like, it's normal to show emotion in some of these
Yeah,
settings.
definitely. And in the pods, we were encouraged to share vulnerable parts. And um, a lot of the girls, like, we talked about vulnerable moments in the lounge that we were going to talk about with our dates. And I think that all the girls, too, had these vulnerable moments that just weren't shared, and they were growing through that. But I think with my story, it might have been just, like, something different for the audience or the viewers to witness, but I think it's like I read somewhere, it was a comment, and it was some person said, like, people wanna see complex unless it's a woman, and they don't want to see the emotions, and they don't want to see the trauma, but, like, everyone has emotions, and everyone is dealing with stuff, and I just so happen to share mine on national television, um but I hope that just opens up people and encourages people to be more vulnerable, more open. Because I did feel like with my partner, I could be 100% myself, and they knew everything about me, and we could just continue our journey and build that together, with, like, me and Mike. So I definitely feel like it was kind of like a double-edged sword, a little bit of just, I think the show just gave my story and was like, "Hey, let's roll with these punches."
Yeah, it's never easy to be vulnerable and receive that level of feedback, and the Love is Blind audience is very large and intense. So it sounds like you are really rolling with the punches and like handling it as best as you can. And I hope that, yeah, I hope that people see your story and like feel that bravery and have difficult conversations in their own lives as a result. And we are really excited to see how your story with Mike, but also just your story as an individual going forward wraps up. And yeah, we'll be
Awesome. Thank
watching.
you guys so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much. It was
Emma.
so great to finally meet you. We've just absolutely loved watching
Thank
you
you
this
guys.
season.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we will get into our interview with Jess. And we are back. Next, we were so thrilled to get to speak with the one and only Jessica Barrett from Love is Blind, Ohio. She has a lot going on since she's back to her regularly scheduled programming as, an infectious diseases doctor. Like she's out here saving lives while some of us are out here podcasting about reality television. So it's very humbling to speak with her. But we were just so honored that she took time out of her busy schedule to chat with us. And we definitely got into her rather interesting time on the show, and specifically her thoughts on how her relationship with Chris played out. Give it a listen. Hi, Jess. Welcome to the pod. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, Emma. Hi, Claire. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we are so excited. We've been dying to talk to you since basically the first time we saw you in the pods. And we want to just speak to some of our most burning questions because otherwise we could talk for hours. So, one thing we wanted to ask you about is the fact that you've been very open about your strong progressive political views, including on the show. And we are curious what kind of political conversations you were having in the pods, especially with Chris.
Yeah, I love talking about this because, as you know, there are so many hours of pod time, and we only get to see a teeny bit of it. You can ask any man or woman on that show. I think that they were so sick of hearing me talk about politics, so it's a little crazy that you don't get to see any of it. Had a lot of really, kind, respectful, mature conversations with people who maybe felt differently than I did. And I tried to make it very clear that I was happy to have conversations, but I would not be sleeping next to somebody who didn't feel the same way that I did on these issues. I couldn't control if people told the truth when I asked them about that. And as I think y'all know, when we got out of the pods in particular, Chris didn't even have social media at that time. There was nowhere for me
Mm.
to go see, like, oh, who do you follow? Like, what's the actual story? And I think one of the biggest challenges for me through this process was kind of that week period where people were like, what the hell was she doing? Like, if this is what she cares about, how could she be with this man? This is not the only man who has just straight up lied about what he believed in to gain access to me. I think that's disgusting. And I think, unfortunately, it is happening more and more in our society right now. And, I think that the thing that you have to look at with that is, if you're so embarrassed about your beliefs that you have to lie about them in order to get what you want, who you want, maybe you need to examine that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, as far as you knew, he didn't have like a penchant for following really far right dating influencers.
No, no. I specifically asked everyone, like, did you vote for Trump? Are you a Trump supporter? And I talked just ad nauseum about human rights because that is such a pillar of my life and what I believe in and who I am and the people that I love. And so I made that extremely clear. I talked a huge amount about human rights in all capacities, really, abortion, everything.
Love
Um,
that.
and that was, of course, very uncomfortable for some people, which was fine. It's something that I feel very blessed to feel so strongly about because it's a great filter. It's a real
Yeah.
quick filter. Do you care about other people or do you not?
Yeah, we completely agree. Kia has spoken about how this deal breaker in the pods for her around politics really limited her options significantly. Is that something that you experienced as well? Like, did you feel like that took a lot of possibilities off the table?
It did. It took a lot of possibilities off the table. We're in Ohio. I know that there is a very wide range of beliefs here. I'm lucky to be in Columbus where there's a lot more progressive population, but I'm also well aware, and again, that some of these people are not shouting it from the rooftops, because
Mm.
they are rightfully embarrassed, I hope. Uh, but but it's something that you have to have a real conversation about, and I've definitely caught shit for having that conversation aggressively and early, but it's the best thing that I could possibly do for myself. Like I said, people lie. I very much, give people the benefit of the doubt. I want to believe that people are good. I want to believe that people are telling the truth, especially when it comes to things that really matter. So I had to go with the information that I had.
Mm.
um but yeah, there were a lot of people that I had great conversations with that I said, I can talk to you, I can buy you a beer, but you're not sleeping in my bed.
Yeah, that seems reasonable and
Well,
definitely the way that I dated when I was dating, for sure.
mhm.
In your interview with Glamour magazine, you said that Chris didn't say any of the things about like dominance or leading a partner to you that he said to Bree. I'm curious, were you surprised to see those conversations when you watched the episodes back?
I was shocked. I think that Chris is a salesman. He knows who he's talking to, he caters to his audience. I feel fortunate that that was so clear when you look at the dichotomy in the conversations, because it made me really give myself a little bit more grace, because you can't leave like this experience and not say, like, what the hell did I do? What the hell was I thinking? But no, like, he really presented himself as something very, very different to me than he did to her. And it just seems like he was telling the truth with her.
Yeah, it's funny when we were watching those pod episodes, we called him a chameleon because the differences between his like core values that he was presenting to you both were so huge. And if he had been saying the things to me that he had been saying to you, I would have been like, what a great guy. Like he cares about COVID first responders, like he's very like aligned. It must have been very jarring to realize that that was kind of an act.
It was. And I think that at least partially became more clear as, he got Instagram and was doing the things that he was doing. Of course, I never followed him. Like, please no. But there are girls, and I get screenshots. Let's be real. So like, I got an inkling pretty quickly, but to the degree is like kind of crazy to me. The other thing is, that goes along with just the conversation at the mixer. I knew it was going to be bad. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be fun to watch, but holy shit. Like, I had no idea it was that bad. I had no idea how unhinged it was.
Yeah, you learn a lot watching the show back, a lot of conversations that you weren't a part of. Before we move on fully from the pods, did you have any other strong connections that we didn't see, or did it become clear super quickly that Chris was kind of going to be the person you were going to move forward with, if anyone?
I had another very, very strong connection that you don't see at all.
Oh, wow.
Can you say who it's with?
I'm not going to right now. I'm sorry, girl.
Fair
No,
enough.
that's okay.
We have to ask. So once you got to Mexico, how did you feel your connection, both emotionally and physically, was with Chris? Like, did things seem good?
Things seemed fine. I mean, I was, very much under the impression that he was excited. I was excited. Things were good. There was nothing that would have like made me think otherwise. Yeah, that was a big, as shocked as y'all were, I promise you I was more shocked.
I'm sure.
Well, there's that one conversation where you sort of were almost probing, like, it seems like you would want to date a different kind of girl than me. Was there something in your gut that was like, this doesn't seem like something feels off, or no?
I think that that's like kind of a shadow of insecurity where like I know, I think for any woman, for any person who like knows themselves, it's like, I just want to be real clear. Like, I'm not going to be the one like getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym with you. Like, that's just not me. I don't want to be that. I don't want to change myself for somebody else. Like, I am good as I am, but like, you do know this, right? Like, I just want to highlight, like, I want to make it very clear where I stand in everything so that you can't, be shocked later. And still, apparently, there was some shock. I don't know.
No, truly, like, that's all you can do in dating is be like, this is who I am. Are you into it or not? And then you just have to trust someone. Like, that is just how dating works. From what you told Glamour, it feels like there was a really sharp turn immediately after Chris saw your home. And I am curious how you interpret that. Like, why do you think that was the trigger?
Well, I have to give credit to the girls for this because I didn't put that together. I would have never thought that wasn't like a thing in my head. We talked extensively about what we did and where we lived and, what type of place we lived in and what was going on in our lives. So to me, I was like, oh, well, he already knows kind of like my setup and what's going on like that. If that were an issue, I would already know that. Number one. Number two, I was like, oh, he got kind of weird. Like, and then he went home and I was like, great, I get to sleep in my bed alone. Like, I'm so excited. I was like, my dogs are going to come back. I get to like be in my house. I was so excited. I didn't even really think about the fact like, oh, is something happening right now? I ate pizza and took a long shower and got in bed and I was pumped.
I would be pumped too if that were my house, but I have to admit, I also did not clock this. I was like, I don't think that he likes that she has so much dark green paint on her walls. Like, his decor aesthetic is not vibing with this. I think that's why he's acting a little strange, but in retrospect, it seems like maybe he was a little intimidated.
I think so. And I don't, again, like I would never want somebody to feel that way. I would never want that to be an issue. And so I really did not connect the dots. It was the women when I spoke later that were like, Jess, like, we did this thing and then suddenly everything's different. Don't you think that's probably related? And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I'm curious, just thinking back to that breakup conversation on the couch that we see, that apparently he did not intend to be a breakup conversation, which is like completely unhinged. Given that he says he didn't intend that as necessarily a breakup conversation, what do you feel like the purpose of that was? Like, do you feel like he was setting out kind of to diminish you and break down your self-worth? Like, was that the primary goal?
I really do believe that. I don't know. I don't think that he even knew that. Like, I don't think he's aware. I think a lot of men do this without even knowing what they're doing because it's the thing that can potentially make them feel better or feel like they've like gained some power back. He didn't realize it, I don't think. But I definitely think that that was the ultimate goal deep down. He repeatedly said, you know, I still want to do this with you. I can't wait to meet your family, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I just sat there like, what? Why? In what world? So, I mean, the fact that I had it the next day, I realized like, oh, he might not know. Like, it was this moment for me. I was like getting ready to do my exit interview, and I was like, wait, somebody needs to tell this man that I'm never speaking to him again. I just,
And unfortunately, that had to be you.
yes, I did feel a responsibility just as like an adult and a human that I was like,
Mm.
okay, well, before I'm going to say something to a camera, I'm going to say it to the other human involved. Not that I felt like I owed him anything, but I really, when I get into situations like this, all I really care about is like, what is going to make me sleep well at night? What am I going to feel good about? I want to go to bed and say like, I did everything the way that I would want to do it. I handled myself well. It's not about his feelings.
Yeah, you can't worry about his feelings. He'll worry about those. So, what was your mindset like going into the Pod Squad mixer after this? And like, how long after the breakup was that mixer?
We saw each other's houses on a Sunday. Monday, Tuesday was like the 2 days of like no response, whatever. Tuesday evening was the conversation on the couch. Wednesday was me calling, you know, that 2-minute phone call and saying, hey, I want nothing to do with you. Did my exit interview. A week later was the mixer. That first Monday when he was like not responding to text was my first day of work back, and I was working 12 days in a row.
Oh my
So
God.
I was already on day 10. He wasn't even part of the equation in my brain at that point. Like, I was busting my ass at work and I was excited to see my girlfriends. Really. And it was just like, I didn't know if he would show up or not, but I didn't really care. I was like, I get to see the girls. It's been a minute. Like, that was the thing I was so excited about.
Yeah, and that definitely comes through. We get some great scenes of the other women like gassing you up, especially like Amber. It's very fun to watch. We also do hear at the mixer Bree make a comment. I think it's before you get there, maybe, that Chris told Connor that he normally dates 21 to 25-year-olds. Is that something you were aware of?
Oh no. No, I was very self-conscious about like the whole age thing just going into the pods, not even, you know, specifically with Chris, but I was very aware of the fact that I was significantly older than almost all of the men. Um, and I was concerned that that was going to be an issue. Honestly, again, it's just like leaning on the women. They were kind of like, you can't just shut down, you know, each idea based on age. And it's, you know, I had to really sit with that and think about it. And two things that came to my mind were, you know, it's like going in a bar and being like, oh, that person has this color hair, or their jeans are weird or something, so I'm not going to talk to them. And that's literally the opposite of what we're trying to do here. So you can't take these like objective data points and try to make them a deal breaker. So that was something that I had already kind of struggled with and was like, okay, look, I'm just going to have to get past this. The other thing is Emma is my sweet baby angel, and like we spent so much time in the lounge like having these deep conversations, and she's just this like wise amazing woman, and she's more than a decade younger than me. And I'm like, if
Mhm.
within 2 days I can have this unbelievable connection with and understanding with this woman who's younger than all of the men, you know, why am I kind of casting out the idea that I could have that connection with somebody like in a romantic way?
Absolutely. Also, it's like when you're in your 30s, a handful of years, if you're in generally the same place in life, like
It's
who
not even that big
cares?
of a
Yeah.
difference.
It's not. And it's the thing is, you know, it's all about maturity. And I've definitely met men much younger than Chris who are a million times more mature than he is. I think that, you know, dating to your maturity level is important. if he thinks his maturity level is 21 to 25. I'm shocked, but okay, go ahead, Queen.
I mean, I think maybe he's reaching a little high there.
That's what
Like,
I'm
I
saying.
think
That's what I'm
some of
saying.
us were a little more grown up by the time we were 21.
Agreed. Agreed. I just watch out for those poor young girls. I'm so
Yeah, I
sorry.
mean, the way I read that was just like, oh, this man wants someone malleable that will be very impressed with him and won't have perhaps the life experience to call him on his shit, even though I think a lot of 25-year-olds certainly could. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I think, unfortunately, each one of these kind of like gross decisions and comments comes back to power.
Mm,
yes.
yeah. Why do you think that, not to like ask you to read too much into Chris's psychology throughout this, but why do you think that he went after you and like Bree on the show? Like, you're a very successful 38-year-old doctor. Bree is also in her 30s and like established. That's not really the archetype that he has talked about being interested in.
I think that there was kind of a mindset, which I think is very fair for a lot of us, that, I've done this thing over and over and over, and there's a reason why it hasn't worked, and I need to, be open to something different. And so, that might be giving him a little bit too much credit, but I do think that there was that thought process of like, I want this to be the thing that works, and maybe going a totally different direction is what I need to do.
Yeah, fair enough. During the mixer, we do see you have a conversation with Chris in which he tries to like express interest in your work schedule and then tells you that you're very attractive and makes a very odd comment about your dark features. And you just kind of cut that off. What made you just like end that conversation really before it could begin?
I wasn't like, give me a break. Give me a break, dude. Like I had in that moment mental funeral done. Like there was not like even a sliver of hope for any movement there. And so it was just kind of like, you're wasting my time and yours. Like, and also you don't need to tell me why I'm attracted. Like, what are you talking about? Like, your opinion is, come on.
Like, I'm not going to be comforted by this right now.
Yeah, no,
What's the
no,
point?
thank you.
And I don't even want, like, even a nice thing from you is gross. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Ugh. One last question before we move on from Chris a little bit. Were you aware that he loves going to the Four Seasons? What
I
do you
was
think
not
is going on
aware.
there?
What's
I was not aware. I still, there's been some confusion over the years about what the Four Seasons really means. And so maybe, maybe that's part of the issue.
yeah, he's total landscaping for sure.
Yeah, he knew you wouldn't want to go there. So I think a lot of viewers have really responded to how like confident and self-possessed you've been throughout this whole season. And so I hope the answer is that it hasn't affected you at all. But like this would really, I think, shake a lot of people to be lied to so profoundly by someone they're romantically involved with. So I think we are curious if it has affected you and how you're thinking about dating after the show.
I think it really just made me double down on everything. I think the thing is, because if I had even seen this myself 5 years ago, I would be like, oh, fuck, like I want to be here. I would never be able to just like shut that down or like be that sure of myself. But I have literally spent years working on nothing other than that. Like if I can say anything to the women that are like, oh my gosh, that was great. It's like, it didn't happen on accident. I mean, like after my divorce, I spent so much time just focusing on myself and caring about myself and loving myself. And it gets you to a place where it's like, you're not unshakable. Nobody's unshakable. It felt awful. It was a horrible thing. You never want to hear somebody say those sorts of things about you, regardless of who it is. But you have to get to a place where you know that they're wrong. Like, so deeply to your core who you are and what your worth is that anybody can say whatever they want. It doesn't matter.
It's really inspiring to see how you handle it. And like, I hope that a lot of people do take that to heart because it's easy to like give the power to your partner to validate you and to say, don't worry, sweetie, like you're beautiful, you're worthy. But to like go through the divorce and to go through that experience and to find a way to be that person for yourself, like I think we all should take inspiration from that because it gives you so much strength. And it was beautiful to
Absolutely.
see.
It really was. And I also just think like that is kind of one of the freedoms that we get as we age, heading into our late
Mm.
30s, looking ahead to the 40s. Like there is like a freedom in just sort of that comfort in yourself and like trusting in yourself and not allowing that validation to come from others. So it's definitely been, I think we really related to you in so many ways watching you, and it's been really inspiring and wonderful to see you on our screens, and like we're just excited to see what comes next.
That means so much to me. Thank you so, so much. And I think to your point, like it's happening more, it's happening faster. I think just as women, we're more aware of who we are and our worth. And I think, in within society, we're really trying to show each other that, show ourselves that. And I'm like every single day just amazed by women. Like we are doing the thing, and I am so proud of us.
The true love story of Love is Blind, honestly.
It is.
And
It
we're
is.
always there low key to watch the friendships as well. So
So before we let you go, we know you recently filmed the reunion, and we understand that you can't share any details from that. But we are curious, like how it was being back with the group, back with some people who maybe were not so nice, and if there's anything that you can tease that people might want to tune in to see.
It was great. It was really, really nice to be back to be back with the crew. Um, my baby sister got to be there, so that was like and
Aw.
I say baby, she's like in her early 30s, but she's always my baby sister.
Always.
But it was very, very nice to have kind of like my emotional support person there. And the reunion, it was hard. It was fun. I'm really proud of how I showed up, and y'all are gonna enjoy it.
That's what I love to
yes,
hear.
that's what we want to hear. We are so excited to watch and hope everyone listening makes sure to tune in as well. Jess, thank you so much for chatting with us. We really appreciate you taking the time. And please, you are welcome back on the pod always.
Thank you both so much. You're amazing. Keep doing cool girl shit.
And that's our conversation with Jess. We had such a wonderful time talking to both Emma and Jess. And Emma, did you have any like takeaways from these interviews?
I mean, I am just very excited to hear what both of them say during the reunion. I would have loved to ask Emma some questions about how she made her decision ultimately to say yes on the wedding day. We haven't yet seen, Mike's answer, but we weren't able to discuss the wedding at all with Emma. So I am curious to see how that plays out, what she has to say about it. And I'm also curious to see like how Jess and Chris interact during the reunion. I'm like, how will Chris show up? I have a guess.
How will Chris
I
show up?
have a guess,
Yeah.
given that he is such a chameleon, that he is going to try and be as respectful as possible, as restrained and controlled as possible. Specifically when it comes to the comments that he's made about Jess. And we will see how that goes. I mostly just feel affirmed, frankly, from our conversation with Jess, that from basically the minute I saw her on episode 1, I was like, we would be friends with this woman.
100%.
We were right.
No, it was so fun to hang out with both of them. And like, I'm excited to see the conclusion of their stories. And that's coming soon. So we'll be watching. On that note, that's it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much to our wonderful guests, Emma Betsinger and Jessica Barrett.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon, and Emma Gray. Our production assistant is Tatiana Kanice Smith, who also edits our video. The audio on this episode was edited by John Bahar. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like the show, please follow us, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. And of course, tell all your friends about our show.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com.
I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey: Eric Donnelly, Peter Arriaga, Kate Rose, Maura Curran, Melissa Wester, and Hillary Ship.
We'll be back soon.
Can you keep